Hello guys and welcome to the channel. This is Paper Roll, and today's video is gonna be an underwater combat guide. I've made a lot of builds and tips videos and stuff for normal fighting on land. However, I didn't find anyone pretty much interested in making guides or tips about this, so it's about time to do it for Ranger. And before we start, I want to say thank you for all the people who supported me. We got the channel to 3,000 subscribers. I wished I could do it by the end of the year. We done it in the first week of January, so I think it still counts. And I've got a new mic. I'm trying to update the things I'm working with. I hope you can notice the change in audio quality. I'm still working on the editing profile and stuff. And since many people have asked me before, yes, I do have a way to support me right now, and it is YouTube Super Thanks. You can find it under any video, like the like button, subscribe. You will find a button for thanks. It's a shape of heart, and you can select and pay whatever you want with a comment or something like that. YouTube pay me 70% from it and will keep 30%, but this is the only way I have for support. Especially like the links that other content creators use, like Patreon, PayPal and stuff like that, are blocked in my country, so I can't use them. Don't feel pressure to it, don't feel it's necessary. If you want to help me, you can use it. If you don't, my content's still there on YouTube, and I even try to get it better if possible. So without further ado, let's get right into the video. So like I said, this is an underwater combat guide, and while doing it, I find a lot of people don't know much about underwater or think about how it functions, don't know other people's skill or what they're capable of, like other classes. And even I don't play or know everything about every class, but still you need a general knowledge in general, and to at least know your own tool and utilize it to your advantage. World vs. World have water surface, which means it has underwater combat and you can use it. Some people roam without even underwater weapons, which means the moment they trying to chase someone, they can't catch it. The moment they try to kite people, they simply die. While underwater is very advantageous, because even if your skills on cooldown, like all your weapon skills, both the weapons, the moment you step in underwater, you get new weapons, which mean new skills. You can use it for kiting, better distance, defense, or even damage or CC if you are the one who doing the chase. And for Ranger, it means even accessing new bits, which also can give you better advantage, because now you have extra skills to use, like CC or stuff like that, and that's what I do with my underwater bits. And also we have an update on the bit stuff, so we will get to everything in time. So for a start, I wanna give an example of what kind of advantage that we're looking at. So we have staff, and it can create distance and heal us. So let's say we are kiting people, we change to staff and use the projectile barrier or whatever, and now we go into water with this skill, and immediately we're into spear, so we can create even more distance with it and immediately keep kiting, stealthing with this avatar or whatever. So we have two skills back to back with 1200 range to kite enemies with. They also can have weapon, but not everyone can move as fast, not everyone have their cooldown for weapon swap on demand. So it is an advantage to have access to two skills back to back like that, and this is one of the best advantages we can have. Also another one for Celestial Avatar that got even affected by the change. So in Celestial Avatar you have skill 1, 2, 3 that controlled from distance, so you can put them anywhere you want. However, underwater it works a little bit differently, and Celestial Avatar gain an aquatic version, so even if they are on cooldown, they can be used again. So in Celestial Avatar, let's say skill 1, 3, 2, we can use them anywhere, and once we go into water, we get the aquatic version. And even so, I have a target and I can cast healing anywhere. If I click skill 2, it always appear on me. Even so, I did the enemy there, but skill 2 will always appear on me, which means if I'm kiting an enemy here, running and see if trying to catch me, I'm blinded or whatever, I can use skill 2 in Celestial Avatar and immediately cleanse myself and blind the person who trying to catch me in melee. I simply cast it. It doesn't matter if I have a target or not, it will always be casted on me, which is very, very advantageous. And it didn't used to work like that, so it will cast on the enemy and not on yourself. So right now you can select a target, daze it and hit it from far or whatever, and immediately cast it, and it is instant casting, so you can cast it while doing another animation to even save up time, which is a very good change to Celestial Avatar. So the Seed of Life is now better, Celestial Avatar generally work better, and underwater you have an aquatic version, so you can use your skills, go underwater and use them again. Even if you select an ally, as you see, so right now we have the advantage of staff, and combined it with spear, we have the advantage of doubling down on the Celestial Avatar and how it actually works in underwater, and it is a bit better. There is also a little bit of a trick. I'm not sure it's intended in the game. I think it doesn't work right, but even so, we need to share it because it's been in the game for probably years now, so I think most people need to know about it. Which, if you use something like heal skill, and some other skills work but not everything, so I'm not sure why, but if you use it right on top of the surface, you can have double the cooldown. So I'm getting underwater, and before I can see my skills again, I will be finishing the casting of Healing Spring. And as you see, I healed. I use Healing Spring and I get the heal while I still have Troll Ingwant, and I can use it again. And as you see, I have Troll Ingwant. I'm not sure how many skills it can be used with this, but if you have different healing skills or different elites, sometimes you can use it. It works sometimes. I only use it sometimes with healing skill if I have the time, but I don't think, like I said, it is intended. So let's try the elite, for example. As you see, I actually entangled them and I still have strength of the back, so it is possible. And you can do it the other way around. I still have the healing and I already got Troll Ingwant. So it's something you can use to your advantage if you time it well. When your skill disappears once you go to water, the casting need to be finished at this point before you get access to the new skill or the underwater ones. So I'm not sure everyone will like that I shared this, but I did, I guess. So those are some of the advantages that you can get by switching between water and land. Now let's talk about the combat itself underwater. For ranger skills, you have only access to weapons no matter what the build you will use. You will have harpoon gun and spear. Spear, think of it as the staff, and harpoon gun, think of it as short bow or long bow. It is pretty similar. It works like a long bow, but in our case, we compare it to short bow in general. So spear is your defensive weapon like staff, and we keep the same sigils on it. Also, as you see in my staff, I run cleansing and energy because Celestial Avatar count as weapon swap, so I don't want both my weapon to have this, or the cooldown will not be accessed when I want it. It's simply when it reset. So we only put it in one weapon, and it is the staff, energy and cleansing. And we use the same thing on our spear, energy and cleansing. We have less defensive capability underwater because without the staff, the projectile defense, and even without the turtle, the projectile barrier with protection, and we don't get the healing from the staff skills, so we stuck with the spear. It has some defenses like block and stuff, but obviously that is less healing. And also we have less condition cleansing since we don't have the trap, and we can't even stand still. Most of the underwater combat have to be very mobile, at least most of the time, or in outnumbered situation. So we use the cleansing and energy. However, in harpoon gun, I don't necessarily keep the same like doom and geomancy because I want to have huge distance. So most of the time, I will not get value from such sigils. However, I kept geomancy because the damage is too high. It hit many targets. It doesn't simply apply to the next stack or something, but it's up to you if you want to change it. I find it very useful, especially if I have someone on melee, like grabbing me, a warrior or a thief or something like that. And it can even cleanse the blind simply by moving or switching weapons, and you can immediately start hitting and stuff like that. So I found it pretty useful. But I don't think I found the sigils that really satisfy my play with the harpoon gun. And the other one is agony, since all what I can do with harpoon gun is bleed. I don't have access to almost any other condition type underwater. My bits can't have with it. Sharpen Ancient Seed also do bleed. I don't have poison. I don't have even Cryt Rune to give me torment and poison. So it's only bleed. That's why I kept agony. But like I said, you do you in this. If you like other sigils or even have other suggestions, you can share them in the comments. So let's get to the skills. The first one is a melee attack that cleave in a very small radius, and you have poison in the last one, but it's not worth hitting. You don't need to be this close to the enemy. Trading blows with them while you do absolutely nothing. Even if your power play, it's not that efficient. Maybe if you locked the enemy down and you're already in spear, yes, use it, but it's not that useful, especially that we are in condition build. Maybe if you're playing the hybrid one, it will have a bit of a decent damage. This is the hyper build, for example, so as you see, the damage is a bit higher. It's a celestial one, so it's up to you. The second one is very good in defense because it is a whirl combo that reflect projectile. So in 3/4 of a second, you will find yourself reflecting whatever the enemy goes around you. It is this bubble you can see around you. And you can see the enemy behind you, and once it launch a projectile like a CC or whatever, you can simply cast it and give the projectile back to them. And skill 3 is the heaviest and hard hitting skill, and even if you don't look at the enemy, you simply use it and it will redirect you, but it will make you go farther from it. And that's another downside to Ranger Spear. There is no skill that will get you immediately to the enemy and stab you, so you can start using something like melee skills or stuff. You will always just go farther. And it doesn't matter if you're looking the other way around, once you use it, it will turn you back again. But as you see, the moment the enemy move from your base, it is easy to miss. If it got feared by your shark, your character will keep the same trajectory and will not follow exactly to it. It simply leap into the distance. It doesn't lock on the enemy as easily. So it can miss from time to time, and it defines the damage depending on the distance you used. So it's 1200 range. If you hit from 1200 range, you will apply 16 stacks of bleed. It starts from 2 in melee range and can increase from there up to 16. It's very hard hitting. And if the enemy doesn't have a cleanse for it, this is like in 7 seconds they're probably dead. And you can combo that with sharpened stone to create even more damage, and to apply a hit or two. And it's depend on how you hit the enemy. It's like the hitbox thing. So let's look at it like that. As you see, I missed. Like I said, the enemy moved and I couldn't hit it. I hit this one and I triggered 2 hits because it's probably position or something. So you get either 1 stack or 2 stacks. I think I sometimes got 3. I don't know why, but it will add to your damage. The fourth skill is a block that if the enemy hit you, it will stun it for 3 seconds. But it will flip to a projectile that you can throw, and it will do a cripple. So it's basically like the old greatsword skill before the rework, when you will counter immediately if someone hit you with no access to control. It's still the same. It wasn't, Ariane didn't update it or rework it like greatsword. So if someone hit you, you will stun everyone around you in small distance, or you can simply flip it to another projectile and hit the enemy with it. See, it hit me and I stunned it. And obviously that can trigger Ancient Seed and can be very useful. And you can start even using that to your advantage with skill 5, when you can reset the immobilize, and I completely missed it. When you can reset the immobilize with it, doing a few hits, and you can combo that even with sharpened stone to hit very fast. With Ancient Seed, you can apply insane burst very fast using your skills. It's 7 hits, which means 7 stacks of sharpened stone, and with Ancient Seed can put alone 5 stacks. You will find it very fast. You can apply a lot of damage to your enemy, and it is ammunition skill, so it is very decent and can hard hit in power builds or hybrid builds. It is acceptable, I would say, at least. So let's look at it from our hybrid build perspective. This is a celestial build. As you see, it's fairly decent. You can apply a lot of damage with it. So that's our spear. Now let's talk our main damaging weapon. Let's talk about the harpoon gun. So the harpoon gun, think about it like a longbow or a short bow. The auto attack do bleed and power damage, and it can splinter. So it's a single projectile from 1500 range like longbow, but when it hit target, it apply damage in a 180 radius. So if someone's standing on a ledge and they almost obstructed by small ledge, you can actually hit them even while they're obstructed by this. And I've demonstrated in a very old video before, and this is simply how it looks. It is very useful, very good, and it is your main source of damage underwater. The second skill is a projectile that will pierce this time, so it will hit everyone in its distance, and it will apply higher bleed the longer the distance between you and your enemy. So this one is very good when you have when you're farther from your enemy again. The same way when we thought about the spear and said you need long distance to apply this much damage, this one also need long distance to apply a lot of damage using this skill. So you don't like much being in melee unless you start controlling. You immobilize by Ancient Seed, you can daze with Cesty Avatar, you keep just hitting hard and using your bits to CC, we will get to it into a point. This point, especially in 1v1s or like you're locking 2 people in a small area, yes, you can be in melee, but most of the time you want to be in range, and most of your damage can be done in range, so it is the safest position for you. You can CC from range with City Avatar. You can send your bits to do the damage for you. You can use most of your skills on harpoon gun from distance. And you don't want that much to focus on damage from the spear, because if you applied the damage from skill 3, you almost have nothing else to really follow up with until you actually switch weapon. So focus on the harpoon, it is very efficient and distance is your friend. Third skill is very good one for power hits. As you see, it's a huge damage if you blame bar. This is only celestial and I have some very decent damage, but for condition it's obviously far less damage than that, and it doesn't apply any condition but vulnerability, and it gives you fury. However, it's 11 hits. It can apply all sharpened stone stacks in one go, especially if the enemy doesn't have a dodge, so it can't dodge in the middle of it, and you waste some of your sharpened stone skills if you dazed it and you would apply immobilize using ancient seed. That means you can do insane damage. So it is very good to use with it. Skill 4 is very good for power builds. It do higher damage the less the enemy health is, but it is almost useless if you play in condition, so don't think about using it as much if you play my main build. Maybe if you play in the hybrid or a bar druid or any other bar build, but for condition builds it's not really that useful. And the last one is one of your good friend skill for defensive, because you would leave this blinding field that blind and cripple so people can't follow you easily, do a little bit of damage, and you can simply, even after creating this distance, changing faces, and simply go to spear and even kite more or get out of the water if you want. This is how you utilize your weapons. And also the other skills we talked about, how you can double use from water to land. But you don't have access underwater to all of your skills. That's why we don't use healing spring, because we can't actually use it. However, we need the extra healing since we don't have staff, so the amount of healing from troll unguent is actually higher, and we always on the move. So even if it work, I would probably still go with troll unguent. We have no other option whatsoever but strength of the back. We don't obviously use spirit, we can't use entangle, but however this also come to our advantage since we can double use those skills if we want to, and most of the time obviously I would be doubling on the heal, not on the other skill, unless I have full health and I want to entangle the enemy behind me and then get stability and kite. So you can use this or this. Now underwater I have only one stun break, and it is lightning reflexes, because underwater is not as balanced as in land combat, so there is a lot of damage, and a lot of people would, like you, have access to new weapon skills immediately off cooldown and they can spam it. And if you've been chased by many people, sometimes you simply can't or have to tank. So I use Signet of Stone. However, if you want a second stun break, which can be way more useful because they will be spamming stuns and stuff, you can use Protect Me. It will give you barrier and protection, so it is healing and a little bit down on the damage. It will still save you. You can use Quickening Zephyr for extra cleanse and super speed to kite, so it is up to you, but most of the time or normally I use only Signet of Stone. Now for the bits, I have done an old video, I called it Roaming Pirate or something like that, when I talked about all the bit option underwater and what they do, what the advantage, what the disadvantage, and what are my choices, or I think the best choices. And I summarize it as Shark is one of the best bits in the game because simply it can grant itself quickness and apply bleeds on its next 3 attacks. That's the one you control. 10 seconds of quickness on a bit that can hit it decently hard and have high bar. That's very good. And it can also on the auto attack apply bleeding and bar damage, so it really have used damage. It's very tanky, very decent, it doesn't die easily, and it have 2 CCs. It immediately, once you go underwater, your main bit should be the shark. So when someone trying to attack UCC or whatever, it will immediately fear them from 900 range for 2 seconds, and that would give you a breathing room. It will do it alone, it will target the enemy, do it very easily, it is just will land. No one really can escape it this easily. The second hit is this one. It is a charge with very good damage, a lot of bleed. It can hit up to 3 enemies in line. Even so, it doesn't write on the skill itself, however, it actually do a CC. So let's look at it. It started with Zephyr, and it done the charge, and as you see I applied Entangle. Why? Because it knocked back the enemy. It pushes it back. It doesn't only do this charge and go through it, it takes the enemy with it. So the shark do 2 CCs and it is amazing. It is perfectly functional. The other bit, however, I ended up with either using this one, Juvenile Lash-Tail Devourer, or using the Juvenile Marsh Drake. Why is that? I couldn't test too much of the bits in general, even so I've been looking into the idea for about a month or more, but many people wouldn't follow me underwater, so I can't really test in combat. However, that's changed. I have a lot of underwater combat, especially lately, but even without that small duration or small time after I made this video, I ended up on the best choice is obviously Juvenile Lifesteal Devourer, at least if you're playing condition build, especially for druid, and I will explain why. But if you're playing power builds and stuff, maybe you can go with the Drake. So the Drake gives us the advantage of creating this poison field that you can blast in it to give weakness, and it alone can blast on it and still give weakness. It do decent damage, it's very tanky, so it's nice overall. However, it doesn't have any CC. And since we play in condition, we do not support our bit. We don't have beast mastery. Our bit is not empowered by stats and can do high damage and stuff. So that's the main reason why I go with Juvenile Lifesteal Devourer, because of this skill. It will charge next to attack for it to apply stun for 1 second. It would give itself a 60-second duration of something like Basilisk Venom for Thief. And it will hit projectile from far. It's so easy to land. It is so easy to land. So let me show you an example here on that enemy who attacked us. As you see, a stun land, and I can trigger Ancient Seed with it. So out of the blue, and the other stun land. And out of the blue, the enemy trying to hit you will interrupt it, you will apply Ancient Seed, and you can keep just chaining even more CC using your CC avatar. Since you locked it, you can even switch to Spear if you want. You can just do wonders. You can switch bits and CC again. As you see, you can do a lot of stuff with that. And that's simply the reason why I use it. It's a 60-second cooldown, so it's a 1 minute, but it is very strong to have as an option. We don't even have this many CCs, because the only CC we can access, nothing on this weapon, and only the melee block on this one. So we want the CC from our bits, especially on land. We have both the bits can do CC, so we don't even want to down that level, and we don't even have Glyph of Equality and only CC avatar. So we need more CC to apply Ancient Seed and counter the enemy to even protect ourselves. And both it and the Drake can go up to land and hit the enemy even on the shore. And it can save itself nicely in melee if you're stuck in near the enemy. Like let's say your enemy is here and you go into Spear and start bursting and go Celestial Avatar. Like if you're in the face of the enemy, you can switch to it and it can simply knock back the enemy again. So it have even another CC in melee range. And it can evade and save itself, so it can do decently stuff. And sometimes it can even apply poison. It's 10% chance on its auto attack, so it doesn't always happen, but it is decent however. So this is my choice for the bit. And even behind you, if you're chasing, if you're running from an enemy and use it, you can switch to it. Since it's projectile, it's always protected. It doesn't follow the enemy like an idiot and stuff like that. And you can immediately make it give itself the venom, and it can stun the enemy behind you, saving yourself. So right now I'm gonna leave you with some footage with few tips to show you some tricks I use or stuff like that, and show you fighting underwater in action. It is one of my favorite things to do in the game, even if Ranger is not the strongest in it. So I'll leave you with it, and I hope you enjoy. Tell me what you think in the comments. If you have still any questions, I will always answer them, and I'll be seeing you next time. Peace.
If you wanna wake up could take you lost in the dream. I'm what comes after the afterlife. Boom, bop, body like a bass drop. Gon' give it to you, baby, don't stop. A body like a drum. Body, on top. Boy, take it like a hold up. Gon' give it to you, baby, don't stop. A body like a drum. Body, body, If I walk to the sea, maybe I never see. For I will fall into the light. Every time I try to breathe, but you're right and carry me. For I've loved and I have died. So I won't hold back, and you should know that what's never gone, just have regrets. So I won't go back, oh, but I gotta need to forget the time I lost, and no regrets. Moonshine back again. When I drove down to Abyss, while I blame the world's then I shine right So I won't hold back, and you should know that what's never gone, just have regrets. So I won't go back, oh, but I gotta need to forget the time I lost, and no regret. Won't let me forget. Just like the street lights lit this town, like a fire in a blaze, gotta burn it down. Can't be afraid to leave this out. We got this far, don't know how. I see danger in your eyes. They know we'll burn down the night. Coming just like the sunrise. You know that we gonna let it rain tonight. We gonna let it rain tonight. We gonna let it just just like a spark that's breaking out. Can't make a stop, can't turn back now. We know that there's no room for doubt. No, we can't turn back now. I see danger in your eyes. They know we'll burn down the night. Coming just like the sunrise. You know that we gonna light it up tonight. We gonna light it up tonight.
I'm on my own, broken and alone. I feel the rain crashing down all around this empty town. I'm searching for the lost and found, but you don't care, you're unaware. Keep moving like the scars aren't even there. It's in the air like a blazing flare. Don't stare cause the flames will burn us. I thought you were the one for me. That's why I gave you everything. Held you close by the stormy seas. Oh, you meant the world to me. I used to kiss your head when you cried for me. Hold your hand while the pain was over. Keep you warm by the roaring sea. You meant the world to me. Like shadows in the atmosphere, charting the stratosphere. Yeah. I prayed for you and kept you near in hopes you'd chase away my fears. I'm on my own, you made it so, and now I'm chasing nightmares too. I used to run with you through the great big leaves, laugh at you when you laugh at me. Hope for us because I believe the home was just you and me. I thought you were the one for me. That's why I gave you everything. Held you close by the stormy seas. Oh, you meant the world to me. No point in blaming you, you did not know. Oh, I thought you were the one for me. That's why I gave you everything. Held you close by the stormy seas. Oh, you meant the world to me.
Don't like the lights, but it's camera time. Said take the picture, but you rolled your eyes. Now I'm mortified and still terrorized. Push me behind to get me from my better side. I wanna push you back, but that's all you want. Wanna wrap me up, I'm holding back. Tryna get me framed for me in cuffs. Said I attacked you, that's just a false truth. No need to argue. And yeah, I've had enough. You follow me anywhere I try to be alone. I find you there. There's more than me. Everywhere I try to go alone, I find you there. You follow me anywhere I try to be alone. so I cannot run free from this. Always being watched by you, and that's so inconsiderate. My privacy, does that exist? Probably haven't heard of it. Need to live a different life, cause lights and cameras are in it.